The movie begins on a quiet rural road in Kansas, where a brother and sister, Cal and Becky, are driving cross-country to San Diego. Becky is several months pregnant, and they've stopped so she can get some air. They pull over near an old church called the Church of the Black Rock of the Redeemer, surrounded by a massive field of tall grass stretching endlessly in every direction. As they sit in the car, Becky suddenly hears a young boy crying out for help from within the grass. The boy says he's lost and can't find his way out. At first, Cal and Becky think it's some kind of prank, but the boy sounds scared and desperate. When they try to guide him out by telling him to move toward the road, he says he can't see it anymore and doesn't know which way it is. His voice keeps shifting directions as if it's coming from everywhere at once. Becky, concerned, decides they can't just leave the boy out there alone, especially under the blazing sun. She convinces Cal that they should go in and find him. Before entering, Cal leaves the car doors open and marks their location by noting the church across the road, thinking it'll help them find their way back. Once they step into the grass, the sound of insects and the wind grows louder, almost unnatural. They shout for the boy, and he keeps calling back, but his voice seems to move around them, first ahead, then behind, then far away. The further they go in, the thicker and taller the grass becomes, completely enclosing them. After only a few minutes, they realize they can't see the road anymore. Cal tries to stay calm and tells Becky to jump so they can see each other above the grass. When they both leap at the same time, they can see each other's heads. But when they try again a few seconds later, they've somehow moved impossibly far apart, even though neither of them has walked anywhere. It's as if the space itself is changing around them. They start to panic. Becky's breathing grows heavy, and she clutches her stomach, calling for Cal. The boy's voice reappears, closer this time, saying his name is Tobin. He warns them that the grass doesn't move dead things, and that they shouldn't lose track of each other. His words only confuse and scare them more. As the sun sets, Becky hears movement nearby. She assumes it's Cal, but a man steps out of the grass, and introduces himself as Ross, telling her he's been looking for his wife Natalie and their son Tobin, the same boy Becky had heard crying earlier. Ross then offers to help her find Cal while continuing his search for his family. Becky hesitates but eventually agrees. Together, they start moving through the grass, calling out for Cal. Elsewhere, Cal finally encounters Tobin, who seems calm and unshaken. Tobin explains that he and his mom also heard a man shouting for help earlier, and when they tried to find him, they ended up trapped too. The grass, he says, doesn't let you leave once you're inside. As they talk, Tobin tells Cal he knows where Becky is and promises to take him to her. Cal follows as they push through the thick blades that sway and twist as if alive. Eventually, they come upon a massive stone standing tall in a small clearing, the rock that Ross had seen earlier. Tobin steps toward it without fear and places his hand on its rough surface. Instantly, a pulse of strange energy ripples through him. His expression shifts, almost as if he's in a trance. Cal senses something unnatural about the rock and reaches out, but before he can touch it, Becky's distant scream echoes through the grass. He pulls his hand back and sprints toward her voice, leaving Tobin behind. The scene then cuts forward several months later. A pickup truck rolls down the same lonely Kansas road. Behind the wheel is Travis, Becky's ex-boyfriend and the father of her unborn child. He's been searching for her since she went missing. He stops at a gas station and shows a photo of Becky and Cal to the owner, asking if she's seen them. The woman shakes her head, and Travis leaves, frustrated but determined to keep looking. Driving further, he spots an abandoned car parked outside the same church Becky and Cal had passed days earlier. He gets out and recognizes it immediately. It's Cal's car. He calls out for Becky, but the road is silent. The doors are still open, the interior coated with a thin layer of dust. With growing concern, Travis looks toward the tall grass swaying opposite the church. He steps in, shouting for her. He tries to be smart about it, tying the grass into knots to mark his path. But after walking a few yards, the knots untie themselves as though the field is alive and doesn't want him to leave. Hours pass, and the sun sets. The air grows thick and heavy, and Travis's energy begins to fade. Exhausted, he sits down to rest, but that's when he hears a soft snapping sound nearby, like a twig breaking under a foot. He turns sharply, scanning the grass. Suddenly, Tobin appears. He looks the same age as before, calm but serious. He warns Travis to keep his voice down, saying that loud noises attract them. When Travis asks who, Tobin doesn't answer but instead tells him that he knows where Becky is and that he can take him there. Travis, desperate, follows him through the twisting grass. They reach a small clearing and there, lying motionless, is Becky's body. Travis drops to his knees, his voice breaking as he calls her name. When Travis turns back to ask Tobin what happened, the boy has vanished without a sound. The next morning, Travis wakes beside Becky's corpse, disoriented and covered in dirt. He sits quietly for a while before forcing himself to get up and start moving again. As he walks, he hears faint voices carried by the wind. They sound familiar. He follows the noise and realizes he's hearing another version of Tobin, this time when the boy, his parents, and their dog first stopped at the roadside. He hears them, as the sequence plays out. The family hears someone yelling for help, the dog runs into the grass, and Tobin chases after it. His parents, Ross and Natalie, go in after him, calling his name as the grass swallows them whole. Time in the field seems to twist and fold in on itself. Night falls quickly, and soon Ross is wandering alone, shouting for Natalie and Tobin. His voice grows hoarse and desperate until he stumbles into the same clearing where the massive rock stands. Drawn to it, he places his hand on its surface. Soon, the story loops again, back to when Becky and Cal first heard Tobin's cries for help, showing that time inside the field is repeating endlessly. In the present, Travis continues wandering. He's weak and dehydrated, but then, out of nowhere, he hears Tobin's voice calling his name. He yells back, and to his shock, Becky and Cal hear him too. Confused, they shout for him, not understanding how Travis got there. His voice sounds distant, echoing through time. They hear Tobin's voice again, saying his dog is dead. Travis remembers Tobin's warning from before, the grass doesn't move dead things, and uses that to guide them. He tells Tobin to keep talking so they can find each other. After some time, they all manage to converge in one spot, finally reunited. Travis, weary and stunned, tells them that they've been missing for months, not days. Becky and Cal are confused and shaken as all this doesn't make any sense. Travis insists they keep moving before night falls again. They start walking together through the field, unaware that Ross is nearby, silently watching them through the grass. The heat grows unbearable, and Becky suddenly stumbles and collapses. Out of nowhere, Ross steps out of the grass and rushes to her side, pretending to help. He performs CPR until she gasps awake. Tobin is overwhelmed with relief, hugging his father tightly after not seeing him for what felt like weeks. But behind Ross's calm expression, there's something darker, something that's already changed inside him since he touched the rock. Later, the group follows Ross through the tall whispering grass. He walks ahead with an oddly calm confidence, insisting that he knows the way out. He begins to talk about his life before all of this. He tells them he worked in real estate, always too busy to make time for his family. One day, he decided to take a break and take his wife Natalie and their son Tobin on a little vacation drive. He says he never expected the highway detour to lead them here, into a place he can't seem to escape. His story sounds believable enough, but there's something unsettling about the way he tells it. Soon, the group reaches a familiar clearing, and there it stands, the massive black stone rising from the center of the field. He turns back to them and starts to speak about the rock as if it were sacred. He claims it holds all knowledge and that if they touch it, they'll be set free from their suffering. Becky, clutching her stomach from the weight of her pregnancy, reminds him that he promised to lead them out, not deeper in. But Ross insists that this is the way out. He tells them to touch the rock and feel the truth for themselves. Suddenly, Tobin's mom appears from the grass, and yells for them not to touch it. She tells the group that Ross isn't who he says he is, as the rock has changed him. The tension rises as Becky takes a step back, staring at Ross. Then something flashes before her eyes. A strange vision floods her mind. Ross's face warps into something otherworldly, inhuman. She sees that he's no longer just a man. He's connected to the grass itself, an extension of the living field. Horrified, Becky warns the others that he's become part of whatever controls this place. Ross, unfazed, stretches out his arms and pleads with them to touch the rock, promising their lives will change forever, that they'll understand everything. When they refuse, the false calm drops from his voice. Ross lunges at Travis, tackling him to the ground. A brutal struggle breaks out. Ross's strength is unnatural, fueled by the power of the rock. He twists Travis's arm until it snaps. Natalie screams, and Ross turns on his wife and crashes her head. The field echoes with cries as Becky and Cal grab Tobin and run, pushing through the walls of grass, desperate to escape. They sprint through the dark tangled field until Tobin's dog suddenly appears, barking and leading the way. The four follow the animal until they stumble across an old abandoned cafe sitting in the middle of nowhere. They rush inside, and lock the doors behind them. For a moment, they just sit there, catching their breath, listening to the wind push against the walls. Suddenly, they hear the door banging, as Ross tries getting in. Panic sets in, and they scramble up a narrow staircase to the roof. Becky is sweating and pale, clutching her stomach as another wave of pain hits her. She tells Travis and Cal they need to think of something before Ross finds them. Travis looks over the edge, scanning the field for any sign of a way out. Suddenly, they see Tobin's dog again, walking calmly through the grass and emerging onto the open road beyond. The realization hits them all at once, that grass is some kind of gate, a passage that shifts reality. Suddenly, Cal shoves Travis off the roof and he crashes to the ground. Tobin sees everything, but Ross makes it onto the roof. The three rush out of the building, but Becky stops for a second, calling for Travis, but he doesn't answer. When she looks at Cal, the truth dawns on her, he must have done something to him. She runs into the field and Ross chases after Cal, tackling him to the ground. The two struggle violently, and Ross, much stronger, wraps his hands around Cal's neck and strangles him until his body goes still. Back at the cafe, Travis regains consciousness. Dazed and hurting, he pushes himself to his feet and stumbles back into the grass, calling Becky's name. He follows her voice but can't find her. Becky then tells Travis that before she disappeared, she had planned to give their baby up for adoption. But after months of carrying her, she changed her mind. She had fallen in love with their unborn daughter and couldn't give her away. Her words break Travis's heart. He starts to apologize, saying that he should have been there for her. Before they can say more, Ross bursts through the grass and grabs Becky. Becky, fighting through the pain, grabs a pair of scissors and drives them into his eye. Ross roars in pain, dropping her, and Becky scrambles away. Rain begins to pour, and soaking the field. The grass moves like waves, surrounding Becky as shadowy humanoid shapes emerge from between the stalks. The creatures pick Becky up and carry her to the rock. Soon, Becky screams as labor begins. The ground shakes, and she feels the baby coming. As she gives birth, she looks up and sees the earth split open near the stone. Beneath the roots, countless bodies are tangled and writhing, feeding the power of the rock. Later, Becky wakes up. She sees Cal kneeling beside her, holding her newborn. Relief washes over her for a moment. But then he offers her something to eat, saying she needs her strength. She takes a bite and asks softly what it is. When she looks down, horror fills her eyes. He's feeding her pieces of her own baby. Elsewhere, Travis is still searching. He pushes through the grass until he finds Becky lying motionless near the rock. He kneels beside her, broken. Tobin appears from the shadows and tells him that his father killed the baby. Rage fills Travis. He calls out for Ross, demanding that he show himself. Suddenly, Ross steps forward and attacks, stabbing Travis with a jagged bone. Travis falls back, his blood soaking into the earth as his body presses against the rock. Ross drags Tobin toward it, forcing his son's hand to touch its surface. But before he can, Becky grabs a rock and smashes it against Ross's head, giving Tobin the chance to pull away. Travis, summoning the last of his strength, grabs Ross and slams his head against the rock, again and again until Ross finally goes still. He looks over at Becky, but it's too late. She's gone. With nothing left, Travis places his hand on the rock. Its energy flows through him, connecting him to the field. He understands now how it all works, and how it repeats. He looks at Tobin, and leads him out of the field. He then tells him to never come back, and never let Becky enter the grass. In an instant, Tobin finds himself back on the roadside, the day Becky and Cal first stopped their car. He rushes to them, waving his arms to stop them from going in. Cal looks confused, until Tobin gives Becky her chain that he got from Travis, proof that he knows something darker. Becky then tells Cal they're leaving, and they get back in the car and drive away from the field. Back inside the grass, Travis is in the field, relieved that this time, they have escaped. Make sure to like, comment and subscribe for more notifications. Until next time. See you soon.